That was an excellent presentation on Site First. Friends, let's now invite Past International Director AP Singh to present us the relationship between leadership and service.
Hello everybody, it's such a pleasure to be part of this online ISAME forum for the year 2020. Two words that we hear very often, perhaps most often in our organization, are leadership and service. And we have different segments and different varieties of leadership development programs for Lions at different levels. And we have such a wonderful menu, perhaps the most expansive menu as far as service programs are concerned. Each line, each club could choose from that wonderful menu about which service programs they would like to be associated with and they would like to undertake. And as we go on in this journey of our membership in this world's largest service club organization, that's Lions Clubs International, we sometimes begin to believe that leadership, development, and service are two different things. But basically they aren't. Just for example, the wave and the ocean are the same. You cannot distinguish the wave from the ocean. The wave is the ocean. It's the waves that make the ocean. There is no distinguishing between those two. Similarly, leadership and service are the two sides of the same coin in our organization. If you hold a 5 rupee or a 10 rupee coin in your hand, no matter if you flip it, whether you get a head or a tail, the value of the coin doesn't change. The value of the coin remains the same, whether the coin falls on the head or on the tail side. The value doesn't get altered. It's exactly the same way that leadership and service are two perspectives of our organization. There really isn't a differentiation between the two, as we will see during this entire presentation. My dear friends, leadership is like the operating system of any device. We use computers, we use desktops, we use our palm tops and our smartphones and so on and so forth. And each of these devices are run essentially based upon the operating systems. How effective a device is and what a device can really do depends upon the versatility and the vitality of the operating system. And no operating system is ever perfect because we keep on upgrading those operating systems. For those who use Apple devices, Apple smartphones, you would know we constantly get messages that so-and-so program has to be upgraded. Mac so-and-so, iOS so-and-so has to be upgraded, and that it would be upgraded at nights and that the phones would automatically upgrade it. The same thing is with the Windows program. If you remember, many years ago, we had a Windows 95. Nobody uses the Windows 95 today because what our machines and devices deliver today cannot be delivered with the operating system that was Windows 95. The same thing applies to our organization. Leadership also needs to be constantly upgraded. Leadership constantly needs to be developed. We need to be getting better at handling situations, at getting better results, at handling more resources, because the society and the community places greater and greater amount of resources in our hands because of our wonderful track record. And since that happens, the leadership also upgrades to the higher and the higher versions. And as the leadership upgrades, our delivery improves. The ability to make an impact improves. If you look at our own organization, some of you who have been members for 20 years, 30 years, maybe even 40 years, you can very well understand the kind of impact we make today at a global level as far as service delivery is concerned. That kind of a global impact was not really possible maybe 40 years ago. One of the reasons is technology. The other reason is the maturity of the association. So leadership and service really go hand in hand. We also need to understand that this organization practically, or for all intents and purposes, exists so that we may provide a platform to serve our communities, so that ultimately we can have that satisfaction that when we leave this planet Earth, we leave it at least slightly better than what we had inherited it. That is the unwritten commitment of every responsible citizen on this planet Earth. And to make it happen, there could be various alternatives. But one of the alternatives that we have is the platform of our own Lions Clubs. So when we try to do something for others, because that's important to continue to maintain the vitality of our own souls, that's important so as to justify our own existence on this planet Earth, because working for ourselves only and our biological families would lead to atrophy of the human mind, atrophy of the human soul, atrophy of that inner desire that helps us to do better and better and be better human beings. So as this goes on, let's look at our own selves. Each one of us has a story, the story of a lion, how we have grown in this organization. Some of you may have been members for very little time, but that doesn't make a difference. You are as much a part of this organization as the others who've been members maybe 40, 45, maybe even 50 years. But all of us realize that there is essentially a difference between being a member of a Lions Club and being a lion. When you start to pay dues for your Lions Club, you just join a club, you're a member of a Lions Club. But when you start loving this organization for what this organization stands for, when you become a part and parcel of these service programs, when that service bug really makes its impact on you, when that fire begins to burn in your heart to be a part of a system that can make this world better, that can really do something for others, in doing something for others, basically you're even helping yourselves. You're helping your own future generations. And in doing that, in discharge of that great social responsibility, a transformation takes place, and that transformation is from a member of a Lions Club to a lion who understands that he has responsibilities towards not only one's biological families, but to everybody else, to the communities, to the nation, to the world at large. And that is the time when the leadership in that individual, that inner leadership takes precedence over one's selfish desires and goads that individual to move ahead in the direction of service. Service is actually about the accomplishment of the purposes of life. My dear friends, the purpose of life itself is to have a life of purpose. So service is what keeps us going. There have been many studies in the Western universities and the most advanced universities in the world, which have shown that individuals who are involved in non-government organizations and service organizations and individuals who are trying to do something for others, those individuals are less stressed. They usually do not get into depressions. They are the ones who have better lives. Their quality of lives improves because the minds are occupied in a much more positive manner. This has now even been established scientifically. So in this process, in our own clubs, in our own zones, in our own regions, in our own districts, how does this happen? Because service is the deliverable of our organization, but leadership is what makes it happen. Yet remember, leadership is not an end in itself. Our leadership development programs are not an end in itself. Sometimes we have GLT coordinators and individuals working with the leadership development, and they say, we've done our job, we've organized so many leadership development programs. Well, that's just a myopic vision. The larger vision is service delivery. Leadership development cannot be an end in itself. It is a means to an end. It is a pipeline through which the service delivery takes place. It's like the pipelines through which the oil flows. Oil cannot flow if the pipeline's not there. But if you have the pipeline and the oil doesn't flow, the pipeline too is worthless. That brings us to the question, what does the leadership have to ensure? The first thing that the leadership have to ensure is that what we are doing is the communities actually need that. We need to ensure needs assessment of the community. We've often heard that concept of the needs assessment that needs to be exercised by all the clubs, by the district leaders, by the club leaders. Now that's very important because we are handling resources, we are handling community resources, we are handling money, we are handling time of the public and the masses. When we are doing all of it, we need to ensure that they are employed essentially for reasons that the communities need them. So that is number one. The next important thing is about building the team spirit, because there are individuals who are coming from different walks of society, different ethnic and cultural backgrounds, different levels of education, different ages, different priorities in life, different sexes, and anything, look at the kind of difference. That's an unending list of differences, but yet we need the teams to be able to work seamlessly. Now, this is a very big challenge even in the business world, and building teams will always continue to be the challenge. But leadership ensures that when we are working, especially in an organization like the Lions Clubs, where we are dealing with the public funds, we are dealing with public resources, and we are ultimately into the business of delivery of what our communities need, that we should be able to work more cohesively, and leadership ensures that. And then it's about empowering, the empowerment of the teams, the empowerment of the Lions, capacity building through various training programs. But once again, as I said, capacity building is not an end in itself. The capacity building is for the purpose, and the purpose is delivery of service. And of course, the leadership engages itself in understanding of reports, in making various analysis, in making mid-course reviews, and even ensuring some mid-course corrections that may be required from time to time. Because we need to understand, after all, every club exists. Every Lions Club exists for the purpose of rendering service. There is really no purpose of having a Lions Club if the club is not rendering any service. There really is no purpose in having a Lions Club that's paying all its dues, paying its international dues, reporting to Lions Clubs International, sending up its reports, but there's no service activity. That's really a number. We are not looking for numbers. We are looking for members. And every number basically must be backed by a genuine member. Now, how much that individual does, what that individual does, what is the preference as far as service programs is concerned, all of that is open. That is not what the association dictates. That's not even what a district or a region or a zone leader would dictate. That's totally up to the individual clubs, because the clubs are the autonomous bodies, and the clubs are the unit where the service delivery actually takes place. But the fact is, the service delivery must take place. And in doing so, while the service delivery is taking place, we need to ensure that our programs are justified by what is called the intergenerational equity. That means wherever our investments are taking place, investments of money, investments of other resources, investments of time, investments of thoughts, investments of context, any kind of investments taking place, those investments must be justified at least by the needs of the near future. We cannot project far distant futures, but then we should be able to preempt what the needs in the near future must be. That must be understood, and our programs and projects must be according to the needs of today, but the organization at all points of time also has to be future ready. And in being future ready, there is this concept of what we call the intergenerational equity. And along with the concept of intergenerational equity is the leadership's responsibility for creating donor constituencies. What do we mean by donor constituencies? If you look at it, you and I, we don't change our brand of the toothpaste regularly. You don't change the brand of your razor blade. Women don't change, women prefer not to change their hairdressers. We don't change our tailors so regularly. So if we continue to rely on those individuals and those brands, why do we do so? Because we are satisfied with what is provided to us by those individuals and those brands. Similarly, if we can ensure that of what we can ensure, what I'm trying to convey is the donor satisfaction. And if we can build relationship with the donors, then we would be building those donor constituencies. It's like this. When we receive funds from a particular donor, when we receive a check, we send that person a thank you letter, we send that person a receipt. And in most cases, the story comes to an end there. But the story must actually begin there. The story of building relationship, sending that individual regular updates about the service program, about the impact that is being made through that service activity, about how every penny, every paise, every rupee donated by that individual is really helping to serve the communities. Invite that individual, let that individual come and see what's being done. If that individual comes to your programs, recognize that individual. And while you are doing all of it, don't ask for money ever again. Just wait. Let that individual feel and enjoy the satisfaction of having made a very good investment. If that happens, the individual will come back again, because individuals would like to invest in charities where they feel their money and the resources are best used. So the leadership has the responsibility for creating these donor constituencies so that the service programs would continue in the future in a seamless manner. And then we need to be able to work with our delivery mechanisms. And sometimes the delivery mechanisms will have to change over a period of time, definitely, but sometimes it may have to change for certain extraneous reasons and suddenly. And the biggest example is the COVID-19 period. All through our lives, entire lives, we've been telling Lions, get more and more Lions into service activity programs. Wherever you're having service activities, ensure a greater attendance there. And we've been discussing it. What do we do? Because we find that the attendance of the Lions is much larger at fellowship meetings, but it's not so large at the service programs. But then there came a time of COVID-19 where we said, let's continue to provide the need-based services to our communities, but provide them in a manner that the Lions don't have to attend the service activities. As few Lions as possible. Deliver what is required, but do not have to attend in person. There was a total alteration. It was like a paradoxical change, a diametrical change, 180-degree change in the delivery mechanism. And I would like to congratulate Lions in our countries, Lions in our constitutional area, basically Lions across the world, because they did it so well. Because ultimately the need for service will always be there. What changes are certain circumstances around those needs. The efficacy of certain systems may also be required to be studied and changed. But service would always continue to be required so long as human beings exist on this planet Earth. And we need to be able to monitor, and we need to be able to adapt our delivery mechanisms to those requirements. The final thing that I'd like to talk to you about the responsibility of the leadership is about creating an Amazon of service. If you look at the platform of Amazon, what is it really? Amazon is a platform where the individuals who have certain services and products make them available, showcase them. An individual who need those services and products, pick them up there for a certain price. Now, Lions Clubs International's leadership would really be challenged in the future to create an Amazon of service, where anybody in the world who has certain resources which that individual can share, individual, entity, organization, who could share those resources, and then there would be individuals who would need those resources. It would be a platform for matchmaking between the resources and the needs, matchmaking between the providers of the resources and those who would need those resources. Actually, it's happening even today. When you raise funds for a particular service project and you get those funds and then you employ those funds for that particular program, you are actually playing that role of matchmaking between the needs and the resources. But we are doing it at a minuscule level, at a very much smaller level. Imagine it happening at a grand global level. The grand global level where Lions Clubs International becomes the Amazon of service, where everybody in the world can post the resources that they have. The others who need can pick them up. We would really be discharging the ultimate obligation in a technologically driven world in making this world a better place than what we have inherited, and ensuring that we are truly discharging our social responsibilities. Please understand, the kind of service programs that we deliver must be the therapies that really make an impact. They should not be those band-aid programs. Band-aid programs are ones that really don't make an impact short term. They look good, they look quick, they look neat and clean, they look easily executed, but then they can't be used where the injury is deep. They are not effective at all where it's little more serious as well. There you need proper therapies. The society, the communities today need therapies. We need to provide those therapists. We have to be the therapists to our communities, to the entire world, so that the world becomes a better place. And if we can do this, we can do this matchmaking between between leadership and service, then we would have done our major role, our major responsibility and obligation as a lion would have been discharged. Please remember, my friends, that when this congruence of service and leadership takes place, then the concept escalates to a very different level. Then leadership becomes servant leadership. It goes to a different level altogether. And ultimately, leadership and service are not two different things. They're the same thing. They're the two sides of the same coin. And when it escalates to the level of what we refer to as the servant leadership, the questions also change. The question doesn't remain, how can I help? The question comes up, how can I serve? When you help somebody, you are in your own minds, or I am in my own minds, subconsciously assuming that I am stronger than the other. In the case of a help, there is somebody who is in a stronger position, a higher position, trying to help somebody who is not as strong as that other person is. So that is the concept of help. Help incurs debt. But when it's service, there is no debt. Service is a gratitude. In service, the individual who provides the service also feels as empowered as the person who receives the service. That's something very different. We are here not to help others only with the resources. We are here to be able to serve others, not with our resources only, but with ourselves. And when that application of a total individual, the concept of wholeness comes into it, the concept becomes very different. In helping others, we may be touching upon the other's ego, dignity. But when you go and serve others, you first ensure that nobody's ego, nobody's dignity is hampered. You do it with such humility. You do it with folded hands in our parts of the world. You do it with your eyes going low. You do it not for the purpose of getting your pictures clicked, or we don't do it with the purpose of getting our pictures clicked and printed. We do it so that we justify our existence on this planet Earth. We do not hamper the self-respect of the person who is receiving our services, because ultimately the gratification of our own soul is as much, and we are ourselves also receiving at the same time that kind of emancipation within ourselves internally. My dear friends, service and leadership are most effective when they are combined. They come together, they are like a couple, each complements and supplements the other, and that's how the story moves on. We need to understand the best leaders. The best leaders are not the ones who are trying to lead. The best leaders are the ones who are always trying to serve others with humility. And when they succeed in serving others with that humility, then they become great leaders. It is all intertwined. It's all one and the same thing. In an organization like ours, my dear friends, let's be here to, as we can say, lead to serve or serve to lead. It's like the hen and the chicken story. One will never know which came first, but what difference does it make? Why do we even need to know it? Chicken's important and the hen's important. Both are important. Both are vital sources of proteins as well. Both need to be, both industries go on. Similarly, leadership and service, everything goes on and it goes on hand in hand. We need to break those silos. We need to break those walls between leadership and service as if one is different from the other. It is one and the same thing in an organization like ours. I wish you all the best and I hope you enjoy this online forum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, PID AP Singh, for the inspiring presentation.